There are lessons you only understand once you've lived through half a lifetime. For me, the biggest one is about money. Not how to make it, but how to make sure it doesn't control you. I've met plenty of people who seem to have everything. Nice homes, fancy cars, bank accounts stacked high. Yet they were hollow inside, anxious, and up at night worrying about money. I've also met others who weren't wealthy and didn't follow any genius investment strategy. Yet they lived peacefully, comfortably, and free. Looking back, I realized something. The secret to financial freedom has never been the size of your paycheck. It's the way you live, the attitude you bring to your work, the relationship you have with value, and most of all, how well you understand yourself. Money, at the end of the day, is a current. If you understand it, you can guide it toward you. If you try to control it with fear, greed, or impatience, it turns away. I had a friend named Peter, a software engineer in California. He used to say, "If I can make $200,000 a year, I'll finally relax." When he hit that number, he said, "Maybe I need 400." 5 years later, he was burnt out, divorced, off balance, and joyless. Because here's the truth. Money is never enough when your whole life is built around chasing it. On the other hand, I once worked with a woman named Susan in Texas, a public school teacher earning under $45,000 a year. She built an emergency fund, invested $200 a month, cooked at home, grew vegetables, and kept life simple and calm. 30 years later, she retired with more than $800,000 in her retirement accounts. No debt, no pressure, no fear. She never made big money. She simply refused to let money run her life. Let me share a truth. Money isn't in your wallet. It's in someone else's problem. Every dollar you earn is a reward for solving a specific pain for someone. I coached an immigrant named Maria, who spoke limited English and had no formal credentials. She started a school drop-off and pickup service in her neighborhood. She went from 2 kids to a dozen, adding about $1,500 a month to her income. She didn't invent anything. She solved a real problem. Money finds people who solve problems, not people who just complain about them. Another mistake I see all the time is trying to be the best when you only need to be the closest. In a world that moves this fast, the person who shows up on time, responds quickly, and can be trusted, is the one who wins. I had a student named Ryan, 23 years old, plumbing apprentice. He wasn't the most skilled, but he showed up within 20 minutes, whether it was 6 a.m. or 10 p.m. A year later, he wasn't working alone anymore. He was running a crew of 15 with close to $300,000 in annual revenue. In today's economy, being on time beats being perfect. Money loves speed. It doesn't reward endless analysis. It rewards people who start, who are willing to be wrong, and who fix fast. I advised a founder, John, who spent 8 months getting ready to launch. By the time he did, the market had moved on. Meanwhile, Emily tested her idea in 2 weeks, failed, adjusted, and then succeeded. 6 months later, she'd cleared over $100,000 from a tiny operation. She wasn't smarter, just faster. Markets don't pay the smartest person in the room. They pay the one who moves. If you don't have capital yet, stand in the flow. Be the connector. The world runs on exchanges, and honest middlemen always have a place. I didn't start my career by owning a company. I started by connecting 2 people, one who needed capital and one who needed a deal. I was the bridge, and the bridge gets paid. If you're starting from nothing, match people with needs to people with solutions. Sometimes one good bridge can build an entire career. Here's another principle I teach constantly. Turn skills into products. Don't let your talent die on your desk. Package it. Videos, courses, guides, ebooks, services. Build once, sell many, help more people. I had a client named Mark, an electrician. He knew his trade but didn't earn much. I pushed him to record his repairs, post tutorials on YouTube, and teach simple home fixes. In a year, he had 200,000 subscribers, a $99 online course, and 6 times his old income. Talent doesn't disappear. It just needs better packaging. When your knowledge creates value without you physically being there, you're stepping toward real freedom. And remember, the wealthy don't necessarily spend less. They spend smarter. Every dollar should buy you something that lasts: knowledge, relationships, or opportunity. I worked with a man named Thomas who was addicted to online shopping. 3 years in, he had a room full of unused stuff. We rebuilt his spending plan. Before buying, he had to answer, "What will this be worth to me a year from now?" He saved $12,000 in the first year, and that became his first investment. I've also learned that smart people don't hold on to everything. They protect 3 things: inner peace, reputation, and energy. Energy is the invisible currency of finance. I've watched brilliant people burn out because they let energy leak through worry, comparison, and complaining. A business owner named Lisa once told me, "I make a lot, but I'm tired all the time." After she cut 60% of her low-joy projects, she worked fewer hours and made better decisions. When you protect your energy, you're protecting your money. There's another lesson I wish I'd learned sooner. Automate and use the tax code wisely. In America, the 2 strongest engines of wealth are systems and taxes. I had an IT client named Joe, age 35, who invested randomly and panicked whenever the market dipped. We set up an automatic 15% contribution into a diversified portfolio every month and routed 6% into his tax-advantaged retirement plan. 10 years later, he was a millionaire without taking wild risks. Automation beat his emotions, and in finance, emotions are the real enemy. Wealth isn't only about making more, it's about being hard to break. A good portfolio isn't the one with the highest returns. It's the one that lets you sleep when the market drops 30%. I met a young couple who'd gone all in on tech stocks. When the market turned, they lost almost everything. We rebuilt with balance: 60% stocks, 30% bonds, 10% cash. They didn't get rich fast, but they stopped losing sleep. In money, the winner isn't the smartest, it's the one who lasts. I also believe money respects long-term value. Getting rich quickly can be luck. Staying rich requires integrity. I watched a real estate developer named Robert make millions, then vanish after one shady deal wrecked his reputation. Once trust is gone, money leaves. Reputation is the stock that pays dividends for life. Protect it at all costs. And don't try to do everything yourself. Be the orchestrator. Design your own ecosystem. When you let skilled people do what they're best at, and you focus on strategy and quality, your cash flow steadies. A student of mine built a small coffee chain. At first, she did everything: barista, accountant, manager, marketer, and she was exhausted. Once she set up processes, delegated, and hired for fit, revenue tripled, and she got her evenings back. Systems beat willpower. Finally, never stop learning, building, and updating. The world changes every day, but money still flows to value, speed, and trust. A friend of mine named David was laid off at 58. Instead of complaining, he spent 6 months studying personal finance and long-term investing. 3 years later, he was an independent advisor, doing better than before. People who keep learning don't stay broke. Looking back, I've realized the goal isn't to make the most. It's to make it the right way, in a way that lets you sleep, smile, and live free. Wealth isn't having more than everyone else. It's being peaceful enough not to compare. Wealth isn't controlling everything. It's trusting you're moving in the right direction. When you focus on yourself, building discipline, protecting your energy, keeping your word, everything starts to flow toward you. Gently, steadily, at the right time. Like a river finding the sea, money and opportunity find the places where the current is strong, stable, and honest. So before you ask, how do I make more money? Ask, how do I become the kind of person money wants to stay with? Change the question, and you'll change your life.